So here we are, we're in my entry. And let's talk about the challenges for this entry. Now, in terms of the bones of the house, one of the challenges we have is that we have older carpeting. Now, I did not put the new flooring in as a budget item for the staging I wanted to do because we knew we were going to do it anyway before we even realized we were moving. So let's put this to the side and talk about my entry. Now, I'm going to give you the same lecture on the entry that I did on my other videos, which is you want people to love the outside and then love the first room that they walk into, because that will make the tour go so much easier. Here's what I see happen between husband and wives all the time. The husband walks in with the wife and he looks at her, he peeks over, and if she's in a good mood, he's in a good mood. If she starts to scrunch up her face and look disappointed, he notices that. If she's not happy at the curb, and she's not happy at the first room that she comes into, what'll happen is he'll say, oh, she doesn't like this house. Let me show her I'm on her side. And he'll start pointing out things in the house that he knows she's not going to like. He thinks he's being helpful. If she's happy in the first two rooms, he'll start pointing out the things she does like. He wants to be helpful. If the house is fabulous and the front is lackluster and the entry wasn't paid attention to, but the rest of the house is fabulous, he's already talking about all the things he knows she's not going to like. It's just not a good way to start the tour. So this is a very important room in the house. And we're going to show you some examples of entries that I just love. I found on the website and I just love them. I want you to see what a nice job these people did with their entries. So what do I have? Well, I'm in the South, which, by the way, love the South. And what I'm looking at is a lot of very traditional furniture. We have the bell curve over here on the traditional lamp. We have the very ornate mirror. We have personal photos that need to come down. Listen, people know they're in somebody else's house. Don't remind them by staring back at them. Take those photos down. A traditional table, some unique pieces from travels. This doesn't allow a buyer to connect with the house. This doesn't allow a buyer to walk in and say, oh, I think this can be my house. The other problem I have with these traditional pieces is that this isn't a traditional neighborhood. It's not a traditional house. The houses on the front are built in a more modern fashion. The entryway is built in a more modern fashion with different angles. There's no crown molding in the house. It's very simple rooms. There's no kind of architectural details. It's a very modern house. The pieces simply don't match. And there's so many pieces that it clutters up the space. Walking through that door, you're going to have a buyer, either a spouse or somebody supporting the buyer, and a realtor. You're going to have three people walking through the door. What you don't want to say to those three people is, we have no room in this space, so walk around my cluttered furniture and so you can see what you can see. That's no way to welcome someone. People are buying space. They're buying luxury touches. They're buying light. And right now, I'm not giving them any of that. We're cluttered up in our space. We have no natural light. And there's no luxury touches here that somebody could connect to if they don't really enjoy antiques. We really need to lighten this space. We need to neutralize this space. And we need to fill it with light and make those pieces luxurious. So let's talk about that. Well, we know the new flooring is going down. And as we come in, that's really going to lighten the space up. Now, the paint on the wall in other rooms shows as a beautiful beigey, golden, buttery, depending on the light comes in. In other rooms, it's really lovely. In this room, it just shows as kind of muddy because we have no light to work off that color to show it in its best fashion. So the walls are going to be painted. Now, I will actually be taking everything out of this entry. Everything is coming out. I don't want people to feel disconnected from the house because it's somebody else's more exotic pieces from their travels. I don't want them to feel disconnected because this is so design specific and they simply don't have that design as their furnishings. I don't want them to be disconnected because it feels cluttered and they feel tight and closed up. So in fact, everything's coming out. Now I want to talk to you about these pieces of art. They're coming out because I tend to leave any wall that is less than 36 inches without art. I just leave it alone. Remember, light, space, luxury, touch. So even though when people live somewhere and they have art they've collected and they want to show it off, this is totally appropriate. For staging, I take it down. I've had a lot of buyers say to me one of two things. They say, and this doesn't happen that often, but I hear it enough to tell you. They say, oh, it feels empty, it feels cold. And I think to myself, oh, you're a Cancer. That's so cute. And in a way, it does feel empty. And if you're used to having the kids marked with their height in pencil, and if you're used to having all of Grandma's art tucked in all the corners, it is going to feel empty, it's going to feel cold. The majority of the time, the vast majority of the time, what I hear is people say, and I don't know if I told you this, Isla, but I said the other day, I wish I had done it sooner. I could have enjoyed it myself. I couldn't believe that came out of my mouth because I have heard that so many times. So listen, take all these staging ideas, and when you move to your new house, go ahead and recreate them. All the things that you're learning here, bring them to your new house and decorate your new house just the way you want to, okay? And don't you forget about that master bedroom and bath. You deserve it. Now, so let's talk about it. What am I going to do? I'm now looking at my entry with all the funny angles. What do I do? Well, I'm going to keep it really simple. Some of the things that we're going to show you, let me show you a couple of wallpapered entries right now. They're so fun. Here are some that are colorful and they have wallpaper and you can't help but look at them and be happy. And they're small entryways, but oh, they just have maximum impact. I'm not going to do that, much as I love it, because this isn't a small entryway that needs maximum impact. And then I'll show you others that now have larger entryways, and they still have a kind of simplicity about them. They still have a lot of space around them. They're still made with neutral colors. And what's lovely about these is they don't feel cold and empty. Because if you do neutral colors, you can go ahead and also put different textures in. You can put the right size accessories in, and that's the direction I'm going to go. So for this wall that is really a feature wall to my mother-in-law, we're actually not going to have it here as a feature wall. I may put a small table here that will just allow the realtor to have all her pieces and her components out and everybody leave their business cards in a basket. I may have something like that here. If I do, I'll choose a small piece of art to put on top. Very simple. For me, as I walk in, I'm actually going to have two other feature areas, and one of them is right here. And to handle the idea that we don't have much light, well, the door is going to be open. So if I put a mirror here, I'll be reflecting that natural light back into the room. As a stager, a mirror is your best friend. And it's going to be something simple because I want it to show that the house can go with anybody's decor. So we'll have a large, simple mirror here. I'll dress it up down here with maybe a basket of some kind of greenery. Perhaps I'll have small seating here, but I'll have something down to kind of anchor the space right here. Try and keep in terms of 3. Anything that's going to go here with the mirror, there's going to be 2 more things. The eye seems to really like to think in terms of 3s. So when I do accessories, often I'll have 3 items. So if I do have a big mirror and I do have a nice pot with a plant of some kind, I'm going to have a 3rd item here as well, just to have a finished look. Now this wall is a very large wall, but I absolutely hate the idea of people getting closed in or walking into a house and then feeling like they have to shuffle into the room in a hallway. I just think it's the worst idea. But on the other hand, it's going to feel cold and uninviting if I don't do something to it. So we're going to find a narrow bench and 12 inches, 14 inches, and we'll go ahead and we'll put it right here, and we'll put up some cute art. Maybe I'll tuck some baskets under the bench. Maybe I'll have another little piece of greenery here as well. It's going to be simple, but it's going to have texture and it's going to have color. If you take a lot of things out and you don't want something to feel cold, put back texture and put back color. but you don't want to eat up the space with something like this that has to sit 3 inches from the wall and is actually 15 inches. This just closes up the space. If you can have something that sits against the wall at 12 inches, at 14 inches, those extra 3 to 5 to 6 inches make a big difference when people walk through your home. And if you put something brightly colored and fun up here, it keeps their eye up. It keeps that light still bouncing ray in the space, and that's what's going to go right here. Now, if we come down, now you may say, well, I watched your videos. You're a fan of wallpaper. I am. I do like all the new wallpapers that are out. Why aren't you wallpapering it? And the reason I'm not, and even though I'm showing you some really lovely entries that have fun wallpaper, the reason I'm not is because there are so many angles to this entry. I want that to fade back. I don't want to bring it forward so that people can actually see that. So that's going to be faded back by not having pattern on the walls, and they won't notice all the different angles as they come in. But the entry really does kind of continue down to this wall. And gloomy art is not your friend when you're staging. And listen, this is gloomy art. Yeah, it's all going. It's all going. And what I may do when push comes to shove, because nothing's written in stone, I may, when the wood is down, just have a nice piece of art here and put the bench and the art and maybe a few baskets underneath it right here. So that's still going to get played with, but one of these walls is going to have some seating, it's going to have dimension, it's going to have color. But we just don't need gloomy art, we don't need dated pieces, we don't need Bose stereo cabinets that if it were up to Ian would sit there for the next 15 years. But come on, don't we all do that in our homes? Of course we do. And this wall may in fact end up being the feature wall. So we'll see how that works. We're going to do our afters. We're doing our befores now. But go ahead and look at these photos I'm dropping you for delicious entryways. And please know, none of this has to come freeform for your mind. There's a lot of times I just don't know what I'm going to do until I get a little closer to the end of the project. Feel free to go on Google and just write in beautiful entryway, beautiful large entryway with angled walls. It's amazing, and hit images, it's amazing what will come up. And you find something that you really like that speaks to you, go ahead and print it out and put it on the wall and live with it for a day or two. If you say, yep, that's how I want to handle my entry, okay? So entries aren't tough, they just really need to look fresh. And you're about to meet Trevor and Fenway. Come here, guys, because we got to talk lighting. Hey! Hey!